The Arxian High Command had studied Earth for decades. Their vast network of cloaked observation satellites had mapped every mountain range, cataloged every species, and monitored human communications. The conclusion was unanimous. Humans were technologically primitive pacifists. Admiral Voxus Mar snorted with derision as he reviewed the final invasion plans. They spend more resources on entertainment than defense. Their militaries train for peacekeeping. They haven't had a global conflict in over a century. The bridge of the indomitable conquest hummed with activity as the flagship of the Arxian Armada approached the edge of Earth's solar system. 500 warships followed in perfect formation, ready to claim another world for the ever-expanding Arxian Empire. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Crixon from her monitoring station, "we've detected unusual energy signatures from the third planet." Mar dismissed the concern with a wave of his four-fingered hand. "Their primitive fusion technology is hardly worth noting." "But, sir," Crixon persisted, "these readings don't match anything in our database." "The conquest of Earth will be our most straightforward yet," Mar announced to his bridge crew. "Our anthropologists report that humans value cooperation above competition. They create art celebrating peace. They will surrender within hours." The Arxian conquest protocol was elegant in its simplicity. Arrive without warning, demonstrate overwhelming force, and accept immediate surrender. It had worked on 17 planets across 3 star systems. Earth would be the 18th. On Earth, Director Aurum Kalis of the Planetary Defense Initiative stood before the United Earth Council in Geneva. Though barely 40, Kalis's weathered face and intense gray eyes reflected decades spent preparing for this day. "Distinguished representatives," Kalis said, gesturing to the holographic display showing hundreds of approaching vessels, "the aliens will be within striking distance in less than 24 hours. Chancellor Lavinia Estevan of the UEC rose from her seat. "Are we certain they're hostile? This could be a diplomatic envoy." "With respect, Chancellor, diplomatic envoys don't arrive with 500 warships and activate weapon systems upon entering our solar system," Kalis replied. "The Sentinel probes beyond Neptune captured their communications. They're discussing invasion strategies." "Then we activate Operation Thunderfall," said General Malachi Imbala, the ranking military officer present. "The outer defense grid is ready." Kalis nodded grimly. "For 70 years, we've maintained the illusion of a demilitarized planet while building our defenses in secret. The Planetary Defense Initiative has developed technologies these aliens can't imagine." "What about civilian casualties?" asked Representative Nyota Okafor. "Evacuation protocols are already underway," Kalis assured her. "Underground shelters can accommodate 90% of the global population." In orbit around Mars, Commander Frida Valden watched the alien armada from the bridge of the UES Vigilant, the first of Earth's stealth battlecruisers. 50 similar vessels waited in strategic positions throughout the solar system, invisible to conventional detection methods. "They think we're helpless," Valden said to her executive officer, Commander Ravi Dasgupta. "An understandable misconception," Dasgupta replied with a slight smile. "We've worked hard to maintain that facade. The truth was that humanity had never truly abandoned warfare. They had merely evolved beyond fighting among themselves. The last World War had taught them to direct their martial ingenuity outward, preparing for threats from beyond. In underground, bases on Earth, Mars, and the moons of Jupiter, millions of autonomous combat drones stood ready for deployment. Orbital weapons platforms disguised as communication satellites waited for activation codes. And beneath the surface of the moon, the largest antimatter production facility in the solar system had been operational for decades. Admiral Mar was about to learn the most important lesson in military history: never mistake the absence of conflict for the inability to wage war. As the Arxian fleet crossed Neptune's orbit, Kalis gave the order, "Commence Operation Thunderfall." Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden teeth began to show. Admiral Marr was midway through dictating terms of surrender when the first antimatter mines detonated. The indomitable conquest shuddered as brilliant flashes illuminated the void, marking the destruction of 12 support vessels. "What was that?" Marr demanded, steadying himself against his command console. Lieutenant Crixon frantically worked her station. "Unknown explosive devices, sir. They were cloaked. We sailed. Right into them! Impossible!" Marr snarled. "Our sensors would have—" Another explosion, closer this time. The bridge lights flickered. "Sir, we're detecting energy signatures throughout the system," reported the tactical officer. "They're powering up weapons." On the view screen, sleek vessels seemed to materialize from empty space. Their hulls absorbed rather than reflected light, making them appear as moving voids against the starfield. "How many?" Marr asked, his confidence wavering for the first time. "At least 50, Admiral. They were waiting for us." In the command center beneath Geneva, Director Callis watched the holographic battle display with grim satisfaction. "Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. General Imbala nodded to his communications officer. "Deploy the swarm." From concealed silos on Mars, Europa, and Titan, millions of combat drones launched in perfect synchronization. Each unit was barely larger than a human hand, but collectively they formed an intelligent, adaptive weapons system unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Valden received the deployment confirmation aboard the Vigilant. "All hands, battle stations, weapons free." The stealth battlecruiser's hull reconfigured as weapon ports opened, revealing arrays of directed energy weapons and gravitational distortion cannons. Technology humanity had kept hidden from orbital. "Observation. Target the flagship," Valden ordered. "Auxiliary vessels can wait." The Vigilant accelerated, its propulsion system leaving no visible exhaust as it closed on the massive Arxian command vessel. On Earth, civilians watched news feeds in underground shelters as the UEC officially acknowledged the alien presence for the first time. Chancellor Estevan addressed the planet. "Citizens of Earth, the moment we have long prepared for has arrived. 70 years ago, our predecessors detected the first signs of the Arxian Empire's expansion. They made the difficult decision to create the appearance of a peaceful, demilitarized world while secretly building our defenses. Today, that foresight will save humanity." In orbit around Jupiter, the experimental battle station Prometheus powered its main weapon. Station Commander Zoraya Kwan verified the firing solution personally. "Gravitational lance charged to 80%, reported Weapons Officer Ekwueme. "Target locked on enemy formation Delta. Fire when ready," Kwan ordered. The space between Prometheus and the targeted Arxian vessels seemed to ripple as localized space-time distorted. 27 alien ships imploded instantly, crushed by artificially generated gravitational forces equivalent to the event horizon of a small black hole. Admiral Marr watched in horror as his carefully arranged fleet formations disintegrated under attacks from weapons he couldn't comprehend. The swarm had reached his outer defensive line, bypassing shields designed to repel larger projectiles. The tiny drones attached themselves to hull plating and began systematically disabling critical systems. "Sir, we're losing contact with the third attack wing," Lieutenant Crixon reported, her voice strained. "And our long-range communications are being jammed." "Order all vessels to fall back and regroup at the prearranged coordinates," Marr commanded. "We can't, sir. Something's interfering with our navigation systems." On Mars, the quantum intelligence named Athena processed battlefield data at speeds no organic mind could match. It had been gaming this scenario for decades, generating and discarding millions of possible enemy tactics. Now it implemented countermeasures, before the Arxians even executed their strategies. "They're attempting to retreat," Athena's synthetic voice informed the command staff at Olympus Base. "Probability of successful containment, 93%. As Marr frantically tried to salvage the situation, A priority communication cut through the jamming. On his view screen appeared the face of a human. Director Kalis. "Admiral Marr," Kalis said calmly. "Perhaps we should discuss terms of your surrender." Admiral Marr's mandibles clicked in agitation as he faced the human on the view screen. This is some deception. Your species is pre-spaceflight. Your weapons are primitive." Director Kalis allowed himself a thin smile. "A carefully cultivated image, Admiral. We detected your observation satellites decades ago and fed them exactly what we wanted you to see. On the bridge of the indomitable conquest, warning klaxons blared as systems failed in cascading sequence. The swarm had penetrated deep into the flagship's infrastructure, disabling weapons, shields, and engines with surgical precision. "We tracked 17 worlds that fell to your empire," Kalis continued. "We learned your tactics, your technology. We prepared accordingly." Marr's eyes widened. "Impossible. Our stealth technology is effective against civilizations at your technological level, yes. But we've been advancing in secret." Throughout the solar system, the battle turned increasingly one-sided. The UES Vigilant and its sister ships executed coordinated strikes against key Arxian vessels. Earth's orbital defense grid activated, unleashing particle beams that cut through alien hull plating like tissue paper. Commander Valden received updated orders from Earth Command. "All vessels, implement targeting protocol Sierra 9. Disable engines and weapon systems only. We want prisoners, not casualties." On Mars, Athena provided real-time analysis. Arxian fleet combat effectiveness reduced to 17%. Estimated time to complete neutralization, 14 minutes. In a desperate bid to regain initiative, Marr ordered the deployment of the Arxian Empire's most devastating weapon, the Planet Killer. A massive vessel at the rear of the formation began charging its main cannon, capable of cracking a planet's crust. "Sir," Lieutenant Crixon warned, "powering the singularity cannon within a planetary gravity well violates safety protocols." "I'm aware," Marr snapped, "but we have no choice." Athena detected the energy build up instantly. "Attention, threat level critical. Unknown weapon system charging. Energy signature suggests artificial singularity generation." Director Kalis didn't hesitate. "Activate the gravity lances, full power." From concealed positions throughout the asteroid belt, 5 weapons platforms locked onto the Planet Killer. Unlike the experimental Prometheus station, these were refined, precisely calibrated instruments designed for surgical strikes. As the Planet Killer's cannon reached 90% charge, space distorted around it. The massive vessel shuddered, then began to compress inward as overlapping gravitational fields crushed it from 5 directions simultaneously. "What's happening?" demanded Admiral Marr as the view screen showed his superweapon collapsing in on itself. "We call it a gravity lance," Kalis explained. "Targeted, artificial gravity wells. Your vessel was attempting to create a controlled singularity. We simply helped it along." The Planet Killer imploded with a brief, intense flash that quickly faded to nothing, the light itself unable to escape the momentary micro-singularity that formed where the ship had been. On Earth, Chancellor Estevan addressed an emergency session of the United Earth Council. "The immediate threat has been contained, but this is only the beginning. The Arxian Empire now knows of our existence and our capabilities." General Imbala stepped forward. "Our intelligence suggests their empire spans 17 conquered worlds across 3 star systems. They will send reinforcements." "Then we must strike first," said Representative Okafor, normally the Council's strongest advocate for peaceful solutions. "Not to conquer, but to liberate." In orbit, the battle entered its final phase. With their flagship disabled and fleet in disarray, Arxian resistance crumbled. Commander Valden supervised the boarding operations as Special Forces teams in advanced exosuits entered captured vessels. "Minimal resistance on Deck 7, reported Lieutenant Commander Isamu Hayato. "They're surrendering en masse." Aboard the indomitable Conquest, Admiral Marr watched helplessly as armored humans breached the bridge. Their suits moved with unnatural speed and precision, subduing his officers without firing a shot. A tall figure approached Marr, helmet retracting to reveal Commander Ravi Dasgupta's face. "Admiral Marr, you are now in custody of the United Earth Defense Forces. You will be treated according to interstellar humanitarian protocols." "You were never supposed to be capable of this," Marr said quietly. "All our intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see," Dasgupta finished. "Humanity learned long ago that appearing harmless is sometimes the best defense. As the first day of the war concluded, humanity had not lost a single vessel. The Arxian invasion force, once 500 ships strong, had been reduced to floating wreckage and captured prizes. But in command centers across Earth, military leaders knew this was merely the opening move in a much larger game." Director. Callas stood before the holographic map showing known Arxian territory. "Prepare Phase 3. We're taking the fight to them." 6 weeks after repelling the invasion, humanity launched its counteroffensive. The newly commissioned UES Retribution, a massive vessel constructed in secret beyond Saturn, led a fleet of 100 warships toward the nearest Arxian-controlled star system. Fleet Admiral Zaria Komarov, a veteran tactician with 4 decades of service, addressed her command staff from the Retribution's war room. "Our mission is clear. We liberate the subjugated worlds of the Arxian Empire and dismantle their capacity for further aggression." The holographic display showed their primary target: Nalari, a resource-rich world conquered by the Arxians 2 decades earlier. Intelligence gathered from captured officers painted a grim picture of the occupation. "The Nalarians have been reduced to slave labor," explained Intelligence Director Iskinder Abebe. "They're forced to mine their own world's resources for the Empire's war machine." Commander Riza Aden, head of the Liberation Forces, studied the planetary defenses. "Orbital installations here, here, and here. Ground-based ion cannons in these mountainous regions. Civilian population centers carefully isolated from military targets. We strike decisively, but with surgical precision," Admiral Komarov emphasized. "We are not conquerors. We are liberators." The journey to Nalari took 3 weeks through recently perfected jump technology, another advancement humanity had kept hidden. During transit, the fleet maintained absolute communication silence, hoping to achieve complete surprise. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Marr and other high-ranking Arxian prisoners provided valuable insights into Imperial tactics and psychology. "You fundamentally misunderstand us," Marr told Director Callas during one interrogation session. "The Empire doesn't merely conquer, it absorbs. Those 17 worlds consider themselves Arxian now. Stockholm Syndrome on a planetary scale," remarked Dr. Qasim Al-Farsi, the xenopsychologist overseeing Marr's rehabilitation. "They've been conditioned to view the Empire as their salvation rather than their oppressor." "Then we'll need to adjust our approach," Callas decided. "Aiden's Liberation Forces will need cultural specialists with every deployment." The Liberation Fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of the Nalarian system, immediately deploying stealth reconnaissance drones. Admiral Komarov reviewed the initial scans with growing concern. "Their defenses are more substantial than we anticipated," she noted. "They've doubled their orbital presence since our intelligence was gathered." "They're expecting us," Commander Aden concluded. "Nevertheless, we proceed," Komarov decided. "Deploy the Phantom Squadron. 12 vessels, detached from the main fleet, advanced stealth ships designed specifically for infiltration operations. While the Retribution and its battle group remained at a safe distance, the Phantoms slipped past Arxian sensor nets, approaching Nalari undetected. Captain Dayu Zhao of the Phantom flagship Whisperwind maintained neural link communication with her squadron. No verbal orders were necessary, thoughts transferred instantly between the linked pilots. Target identified. Moving to neutralize orbital defense platform Alpha. The Phantoms struck simultaneously, materializing around each orbital installation and unleashing precision weapon strikes. On the planet's surface, Arxian commanders had barely processed the first alerts when their orbital defenses went dark. "Ground teams deploying," reported Commander Aiden as dropships launched from the Phantoms, first wave targeting command and control centers. Liberation specialists, elite soldiers trained in both combat and first contact protocols, landed in key locations across Nalari. Their primary mission: secure Nalarian population centers and prevent Arxian reprisals against civilians. Major Joaquin Rivera led Alpha Team into the capital city's central plaza. The towering Arxian administrative complex loomed ahead, heavily defended by Imperial guards. "Remember, minimal casualties," Rivera reminded his team. "Swarm deployment authorized." Thousands of combat drones swarmed from their transport pods, overwhelming Arxian defenses with non-lethal suppression tactics. Within minutes, the administrative headquarters was secured. Inside, Rivera's team located the planetary governor, an Arxian military officer named Selvik, attempting to trigger a deadman switch. "I wouldn't," Rivera warned, his weapon trained on Selvik. "That building houses 3,000 Nalarian workers. We've already disabled the explosives." Selvik's mandibles clicked in frustration. "You humans are making a grave error. The Empire will respond with overwhelming force." "Like you did at Earth?" Rivera asked. "How did that work out?" Within hours, key locations across Nalari were under human control. Admiral Komarov brought the main fleet into orbit, a show of force that prompted most remaining Arxian forces to surrender. Through captured communication systems, Commander Aiden addressed the Nalarian population. "People of Nalari, we come from Earth. We recently repelled an Arxian invasion of our own world and discovered the Empire's subjugation of yours. We offer alliance and liberation, not conquest." The response was not what humanity expected. After 2 decades of occupation, many Nalarians viewed the Arxians not as oppressors, but as legitimate rulers. The liberation was met with confusion and, in some regions, resistance. "They've been thoroughly indoctrinated," Dr. Alfarsi observed from Earth after reviewing initial contact reports. "Deprogramming an entire civilization will take time." As Earth forces consolidated their position on Nalari, long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures at the system's edge. Admiral Komarov studied the readings with grim determination. "The Empire has responded," she announced to her command staff. "Their main battle fleet approaches, 3 times our number." Commander Aiden looked up from tactical displays. "Shall we withdraw?" "No," Komarov decided. "We make our stand here. Nalari is free, and it will remain free." Across the fleet, crews prepared for battle. Humanity's first interstellar war had truly begun. The Arxian Imperial Armada materialized at the edge of the Nalarian system. 300 warships led by the Emperor's personal dreadnought, Imperial Mandate. Grand Admiral Zolix Krev, the Empire's most decorated military commander, surveyed the human fleet with contempt. "Primitive upstarts," he muttered. "They defeated Mar through trickery and surprise. They face a real commander now." His executive officer, Commander Thraxis, approached with a datapad. "Initial scans complete, Grand Admiral. The human fleet consists of 107 vessels. Their largest ship appears comparable to our heavy cruisers in size, though its energy output is concerning." "And the planet?" "They've disabled our orbital defenses and established ground control in major population centers. Governor Selvik is in custody." Krev's face hardened. "Deploy the fleet in Harrow formation. We will crush these humans and make an example of them for any world that considers defiance." The massive Arxian fleet began its advance, spreading into an elaborate 3-dimensional battle formation developed over centuries of imperial expansion. From the bridge of the UES Retribution, Admiral Komarov watched the approaching armada with practiced calm. "They're using standard Imperial tactics," noted her tactical officer, Commander Paxambeki. "Exactly as our prisoners described." Komarov nodded. "And they expect us to either flee or mount a desperate defense." She opened a fleet-wide channel. "All vessels, implement Operation Ouroboros." Instead of forming a defensive line, the human fleet suddenly dispersed in all directions, executing seemingly random jump patterns that baffled Arxian tacticians. 50 smaller vessels vanished completely from sensors. On the Imperial mandate, Grand Admiral Krev frowned. "What are they doing? This isn't a coherent battle strategy." The answer came moments later as human vessels reappeared inside the carefully arranged Arxian formation, shattering its geometric precision. The Retribution itself jumped directly alongside the Imperial flagship, a maneuver that should have been impossible in conventional space warfare. "Micro-jumps," gasped Commander Thraxis. "They can make targeted, faster-than-light jumps within a battle zone." This capability, the product of decades of secret research, transformed the nature of space combat. While Arxian ships maneuvered, conventionally human vessels appeared and disappeared across the battlefield, striking from unexpected vectors before jumping away. "Target their propulsion systems," Komarov ordered. "Remember, we want prisoners, not casualties." Aboard the Arxian dreadnought, chaos reigned as ship after ship reported critical damage. The Empire's numerical advantage meant nothing against an enemy that refused to fight according to established rules of engagement. "Launch the Immortal Guard," Grand Admiral Krev commanded, activating his elite boarding parties. "If they want this ship, they'll pay in blood for every deck." The Immortal Guard, cybernetically enhanced Arxian warriors, deployed from launch, bays across the Imperial fleet. Trained to fight in zero-G and vacuum conditions, they represented the Empire's deadliest close combat force. Admiral Komarov had anticipated this response. "All vessels, deploy Valkyrie teams." Throughout the human fleet, specialized boarding parties launched in advanced assault shuttles. Unlike the Arxians' heavily armored troops, the Valkyries wore lightweight exoskeletons that amplified their natural speed and strength while leaving them full range of motion. Major Amara Diallo led Valkyrie Prime Team toward the Imperial mandate. Her neural interface coordinated the movements of 20 elite soldiers as their shuttle approached the dreadnought's hull. "Remember your training," she transmitted to her team. "Their armor is strongest at the chest and head, target joints and sensory organs." The shuttle attached to the dreadnought's hull, cutting tools, creating an entry point. Arxian defenders waited inside, weapons trained on the breach. What happened next became legend in both human and Arxian military academies. The Valkyries moved with impossible speed, their neural-linked combat coordination allowing them to function as a single organism. Where the Immortal Guard relied on brute force and armor, the Valkyries emphasized mobility and synchronized attacks. Major Diallo herself engaged the Immortal Guard commander, a massive Arxian whose armor bristled with trophy spikes. Her exosuits, enhanced reflexes allowed her to evade his powerful but predictable strikes while targeting vulnerable connection points in his armor. Throughout the Nalarian system, similar scenes played out as human forces systematically disabled the Imperial fleet. The 50 missing vessels reappeared behind Arxian support ships, neutralizing their engines and weapon systems with precision strikes. Grand Admiral Krev watched in disbelief as his tactical display showed Imperial vessels surrendering or disabled. This is impossible. No one defeats the Imperial Armada." A proximity alert sounded moments before his bridge doors exploded inward. Major Diallo stepped through the smoke, her team securing the command deck with practiced efficiency. "Grand Admiral Krev," she announced, "your fleet is neutralized. Surrender and spare your remaining forces." Krev reached for his ceremonial blade, but froze as Diallo's weapon locked onto him. "The Emperor will send 10 fleets to avenge this defeat," he warned. "Then we'll defeat 10 fleets," Diallo replied simply. As the battle concluded, Admiral Komarov addressed the captured Imperial officers assembled in the Retribution's hangar bay. "You will be treated humanely according to our laws of warfare. But understand this, the Arxian Empire's days of conquest are over." She activated a holographic display showing the 17 worlds under Imperial control. "We've already dispatched liberation fleets to each of these systems. By the time you reach Earth as prisoners, half your empire will be free." On Nalari, Commander Aiden's cultural specialists made progress with the local population. Once they understood that Earth sought alliance rather than dominion, many Nalarians cautiously embraced liberation. An elder Nalarian named Voshik, who remembered his world before occupation, addressed a gathering of his people. "I have seen the eyes of these humans. They burn with something the Arxians never possessed, empathy. Perhaps in them we have found not new masters, but true allies." As news of the victory spread across human space, Director Callis received a priority communication from Fleet Intelligence. The decoded Imperial communications revealed something disturbing. The Emperor had recalled all available forces to the Imperial homeworld, Arxia Prime. "They're preparing for a last stand," General Imbala observed. Kalis nodded grimly. "Or something worse. Alert Admiral Komarov. We need to end this before more blood is shed, on either side." The Imperial capital of Arxia Prime gleamed like a jewel amid the three suns of the Lyraxian system. For 6 centuries, it had stood as the unchallenged center of power in this sector of space, its crystalline spires and massive orbital installations testaments to Arxian dominance. Now it prepared for war. Emperor Daxus VI addressed his high council from the obsidian throne, a massive seat carved from the compressed remains of the first world the Arxians had conquered. "These humans represent the greatest threat our empire has ever faced," the Emperor declared, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. "In 3 months, they have liberated 12 of our subject worlds. 3 Grand Admirals have been captured. Our vassals grow restless, watching our seeming weakness." Grand Strategist Myrex, the Emperor's closest advisor, bowed deeply. "The defensive grid is complete, Your Magnificence. No human fleet can approach Arxia Prime without facing total annihilation. And Project Supernova?" Myrex's mandibles clicked nervously. "Ready for deployment, though the Science Directorate continues to express concerns about potential side effects." "The time for caution has passed," Emperor Daxus declared. "If we cannot rule the galaxy, perhaps no one should." Light years away, the combined human liberation fleet assembled at a staging point near the recently freed world of Korriban. Nearly 300 vessels, the largest military force humanity had ever deployed, prepared for the final push toward Arxia Prime. Supreme Commander Orem Callis, elevated from his director position to lead the war effort personally, addressed the assembled fleet commanders from the bridge of the UES Ascendant. "Intelligence confirms that the Arxians have consolidated their remaining forces around their homeworld," he explained, indicating tactical projections. "They've constructed an impressive defensive network, mines, automated weapons platforms, and overlapping shield generators." Admiral Komarov studied the projections. "A conventional assault would be costly, even with our technological advantages, which is why we won't pursue a conventional assault," Callis replied. "Our scientists have been studying captured Arxian vessels. We've identified a vulnerability in their shielding technology." Dr. Neela Patel, chief scientist of the war effort, elaborated. "Arxian shields operate on a resonant frequency principle. If we can generate a counter-resonance field, we can create temporary windows in their defensive grid." "Small windows," clarified General Imbala, "large enough for a special operations team, but not for military vessels." Commander Riza Aiden, recently promoted after her success on Nalari, recognized the implications immediately. "You want to send a strike team to the surface?" "Not just any strike team," Kayla said. "The best we have. Your team, Commander." The mission briefing revealed an audacious plan. While the main fleet engaged Arxian defenses, creating what would appear to be a conventional assault, Aiden's special forces would infiltrate the Imperial Palace itself. Their objective: capture Emperor Daxus and force an unconditional surrender. Athena has analyzed all available data on Imperial protocol and psychology, Dr. Patel explained. The Empire functions as a strict hierarchy. Without the Emperor's direct authority, resistance will crumble. Intelligence Officer Equame added, "Our agents on liberated worlds have also uncovered disturbing information. The Emperor has authorized a doomsday weapon codenamed Supernova. We believe it's capable of triggering a chain reaction in Arxia Prime's nearest sun." "He'd destroy his own homeworld?" asked Admiral Komarov incredulously. "Along with any invasion force," Callus confirmed. "Our priority must be neutralizing this threat." Commander Aiden selected 11 operatives for her team, the most skilled Special Forces soldiers humanity had produced. Among them was Major Amara Diallo, whose exploits against the Immortal Guard had already become legendary. "This will be unlike any operation we've conducted," Aiden told her team during final preparations. "We'll be completely isolated on an alien world with 3 billion hostile inhabitants." "Just another day at the office," quipped Lieutenant Roshan Drake, the team's demolitions expert. 3 days later, the human fleet appeared at the edge of the Lyraxian system. As predicted, Arxian defenses responded with overwhelming force. Thousands of automated platforms launched antimatter torpedoes, while planetary cannons fired gravitational disruption beams. Admiral Komarov's vessels performed an intricate dance of evasion and counterattack, drawing Arxian attention, while Dr. Patel's science vessel, the UES Discovery, maneuvered to a precise position relative to the defensive grid. "Counter-resonance field generators at maximum power," Dr. Patel reported. "We've created a pathway, but it will only remain stable for 8 minutes. Aiden's team launched in a specially modified stealth insertion craft, its hull designed to absorb rather than deflect sensor scans. As the massive space battle raged around them, they slipped through the momentary gap in Arxian defenses. The Imperial Palace occupied an entire continent on Arxia Prime, its central tower stretching into the upper atmosphere. Aiden's craft landed in a maintenance sector identified by intelligence as minimally guarded. 96 hours until extraction, Aiden reminded her team as they secured their advanced infiltration suits. "If we're not at the rendezvous point with the Emperor, the fleet withdraws without us." Moving through service corridors and ventilation systems, the team avoided detection as they penetrated deeper into the palace complex. Major Diallo's neural interface hacked Arxian security networks, creating blind spots in surveillance systems. After 18 tense hours of infiltration, they reached the Imperial inner sanctum, only to find it empty. "Something's wrong," Lieutenant Drake muttered, examining the abandoned throne room. "Where are the guards? Where's the Emperor?" A hidden door slid open, revealing Grand Strategist Myrex, flanked by dozens of Immortal Guard. "They're exactly where we want them," he announced smugly. "Welcome, humans. We've been expecting you." Across the palace grounds, alarm klaxons blared as Emperor Daxus initiated Project Supernova. In orbit, the battle took a desperate turn as Arxian forces launched suicide attacks against human vessels. Trapped and surrounded, Commander Aiden made a decision that would change galactic history. "Major Diallo, execute Protocol Omega." Diallo nodded grimly and activated a concealed device in her armor. The neural interface that linked her team suddenly expanded its reach, connecting directly to Athena's quantum core light years away. The artificial intelligence had anticipated this contingency. In microseconds, it penetrated Arxian networks through Diallo's connection, bypassing security protocols designed to resist conventional hacking. Throughout the palace, systems failed. Doors locked or opened randomly. Atmospheric controls fluctuated. Most importantly, Athena located Project Supernova's control center and isolated it from the command network. As confusion spread among the Arxian defenders, Aiden's team launched a coordinated attack. Their advanced combat suits, designed specifically for this mission, gave them advantages even against the elite Immortal Guard. "The Emperor has fled to his emergency bunker," Diallo reported, extracting the information from compromised security systems. Subsection G7, 5 levels down. "Then that's where we're going," Aiden decided. The team fought their way through increasingly desperate resistance. Lieutenant Drake sacrificed himself to hold a crucial junction, allowing his comrades to advance. 2 more operatives fell securing the approach to the Emperor's bunker. When Aiden, Diallo, and the remaining team members finally breached the heavily armored door, they found Emperor Daxus frantically working at a control console, the Supernova, trigger within reach of his 4-fingered hand. "Not another step," the Emperor warned. "I'll destroy this entire system before surrendering to primitives." "You've already lost," Aiden told him calmly. "Your fleet is defeated. 12 of your worlds have declared independence. Athena has disabled the Supernova device." "Impossible," Daxus snarled, pressing the activation sequence. The console flashed red, then went dark. He pressed again frantically, mandibles clicking in panic. "As I said," Commander Aiden repeated, "Athena has already disabled it." Major Diallo moved forward, her weapon trained on the Emperor. "Emperor Daxus VI of the Arxian Empire, you are hereby taken into custody for war crimes against 17 worlds and attempted genocide." The Emperor's posture changed, from defiance to cold calculation. "You think capturing me ends this? I'm merely one emperor. Another will rise. The Arxian Empire has stood for 6 centuries. It cannot be defeated by upstart primates who hid their true nature behind a mask of peace." "We didn't hide our nature," Aiden countered. "We evolved. We chose peace among ourselves so we could be ready for threats like you. The difference between us, Emperor, is that we fight to protect, not to dominate." Throughout the palace, resistance collapsed as news of the Emperor's capture spread. In orbit, Admiral Komarov received the confirmation signal and opened a channel to the remaining Arxian fleet commanders. "Your Emperor has been captured. Your doomsday weapon neutralized. We offer you one chance to surrender with honor." One by one, the Imperial vessels powered down their weapon systems. 6 centuries of uncontested dominion ended not with a glorious last stand, but with quiet capitulation. 3 days later, Commander Aiden and her surviving team members emerged from the Imperial Palace with Emperor Daxus in custody. The images were broadcast across 17 worlds. The mighty Emperor in restraints, escorted by humans he had once dismissed as primitive pacifists. Humanity had won, but Supreme Commander Kahlus knew victory brought responsibility. Addressing the galactic community from the newly established Interstellar Assembly on Nalari, he made humanity's intentions clear. "We did not fight this war to establish our own empire. Each world liberated from Arxian rule will determine its own path forward. Earth extends an invitation to all species to join in mutual defense and cooperation, but we will force our governance on none." In the detention facility on Europa, where high-ranking Arxian prisoners were held, Director Lavinia Estevan visited former Admiral Mar, who had witnessed the beginning of the conflict. "You should have conquered us when you had the chance," Mar said bitterly. "That was never our intention," Estevan replied. "We fought because we had to, not because we wanted to." "Then what happens now?" Mar asked. "Will you disperse your fleets? Return to your peaceful facade?" "No," she answered truthfully. "We will remember the lesson your empire taught us. That there are predators among the stars. We will remain vigilant. But we will also extend a hand to those who wish to join us as equals, including the Arxian people once they've chosen new leadership." Mar studied her with new understanding. You humans are indeed strange creatures. You possess the capacity for terrible violence, yet you chose peace. You defeated an empire, yet you reject becoming one yourselves. That is being human, Estevan said simply. The capacity for both creation and destruction, and the wisdom to choose between them. 1 year after the war's end, the UES Ascendant approached a newly discovered world beyond former Imperial space. Commander Riza Aiden, now captain of her own exploration vessel, addressed her bridge crew. First contact protocols, everyone. Remember, we represent not just Earth, but the entire interstellar assembly now. As they established orbit around the verdant world, sensors detected primitive radio transmissions, a young civilization taking its first steps toward the stars, unaware of the recent galactic conflict. Captain Aiden smiled. This species would never know the Arxian yoke. They would emerge into a galaxy where cooperation had replaced conquest, where the strong defended the weak instead of exploiting them. A galaxy transformed by humanity's hidden strength, not just their weapons or technology, but their fundamental belief that peace was worth fighting for. Open a channel, she ordered. Let's introduce ourselves properly. Throughout the galaxy, former imperial worlds flourished under self-governance. Trade routes expanded, cultural exchanges blossomed, and scientific collaboration accelerated technological advancement for all species. The Arxian people themselves, freed from imperial propaganda, began the long process of reconciliation with the worlds they had once subjugated. And on Earth, in the ancient chamber where the United Earth Council had first received news of the alien armada, a simple monument was erected. It bore no triumphant declarations of victory, no boasts of human supremacy. Instead, it carried a single phrase that had become humanity's guiding principle among the stars. Peace through strength, strength through wisdom. The aliens had indeed misjudged humans as merely peaceful. They had failed to understand that true peace is not the absence of violence, but the presence of justice. That the most dangerous opponents are not those who love war, but those who cherish peace enough to master the arts of war in its defense. It was a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget.